So the worst part wasn't his disrespect, it was realizing my best friend was willing to let a guy she just met insult me and call it no big deal. I, 22 female, live with my friend, 22 female, and she recently met a guy at a beach party. She's pretty much obsessed with him because he comes from a well-known, well-off family in the area and has a certain level of status associated with him. She told me they were sort of dating, and obviously I've been supportive throughout it all as a friend. However, I've met him a few times, and I don't exactly hold favorable opinions of him. I didn't tell my friend because I wasn't entirely sure of my views yet, and I didn't want to be negative. Anyway, he's throwing a party soon and invited my friend. He asked her to bring me along too. So he said it was a themed party, and everyone would be assigned a character and style to wear. He sent my friend a picture of our outfits. Two skimpy as heck May costumes sprawled on a bed. I immediately told her that I wouldn't be wearing that crap, and especially not to a party with a bunch of strangers. Initially, she thought I was kidding, but then understood that I was serious. She said that wearing these outfits isn't a big deal at all, and I need to stop being so prudish and serious. I told her that it's very humiliating that this guy thinks it's perfectly fine to request two women to wear that to his party. Like you're seriously asking two girls who are clearly not as rich as you to dress up as maids to your party. I asked her if she seriously saw nothing wrong with it, and she said no. She explained that he just has weird taste and that it might be a weird rich people thing. I told her again that I would not be wearing some skimpy idiot-made costume. Not only is it embarrassing, but it's especially disrespectful to me because I don't have any sort of meaningful relationship with the guy. And yet he thought it was appropriate to include me in this request. I told her that I wouldn't be wearing the clothes, wouldn't be going to the party, and would from now on avoid her new boyfriend altogether. We had a massive argument, and she said I was lame, boring, and not a supportive friend. She said that instead of helping her, I'm ruining everything and being a killjoy. So when she fed back to the guy that I was refusing to participate, he asked her if getting paid for it would change my mind. So that made it even worse. Apparently, he told her that I had the right attitude, which made no sense as I'd been combative all this time, and that his friends would love to get to know me. Yeah, what the heck? I'm just getting angry typing this. I was pretty upset and told my dad about the situation. So my friend decided to go alone, and she's not talking to me right now. Am I the idiot, or is she? I feel strangely very guilty, even though I'm standing up for my boundaries, not the idiot at all. So be proud of yourself for standing up for yourself. This was a crazy request. I'm honestly concerned for your friend. She is not dating this guy. Maybe she thinks she is, but this sounds more like he's taking advantage of her and possibly will be offering her to his friends. At the very least, he's setting her up to be a piece of meat at this party. No well-known dude from a wealthy family would do this to his girlfriend. He sees her as nothing but a hookup and something to be possibly shared. So this is super creepy, and the fact that he felt comfortable including you makes it even worse. So it is also possible your friend suggested this and possibly offered you. This is a huge red flag. Just a huge red flag. So your friend either was on this and is now angry because you made her look bad, or she's in for a nasty surprise. Sort of dating means hooking up, and he's not serious about her. It seems like your friend is willing to put herself in humiliating circumstances so she can maintain the guy's interest. Kudos for not letting yourself get dragged into it. Your friend is extremely foolish. She can't see that they view her as an object. By the way, it sounds very much like this guy is just using your friend and wants to use you too. Stay away. My son Caleb is nearly an adult and just started his junior year of high school. He's autistic and has successfully reintegrated into the general education student body after being in special education since elementary school. We're very proud of him, and despite his challenges, he's a smart kid. He's known Kelsey, a teen female, since his freshman year. She's also a junior. She's a very nice and pretty girl, and Caleb has always referred to Kelsey as his girlfriend. While I know Kelsey enjoys hanging out with Caleb, I can tell that she doesn't feel the same way about him. Shortly after the school year began, Kelsey confided in me that she had a boyfriend whom she began dating earlier this summer. He's a classmate of Caleb's, and they get along okay, but at the same time they're not friends who hang out together outside of school. Kelsey has told me that she doesn't know how to tell Caleb she has a boyfriend because she still wants to be his friend, but she worries that things might be awkward between Caleb and her boyfriend, and she also worries that Caleb will be very hurt once she tells him. I told her that I talked to him. She said she wanted to be the one to tell him, but I felt it would be better if I were to tell him. So the other day I sat Caleb down and explained that I knew he liked Kelsey, but she doesn't think of him as anything more than a friend, that she had a boyfriend and said who he was, and that he was making both of them uncomfortable and needed to respect their boundaries. Caleb didn't react well to this at all. The next day Caleb told me that he and Kelsey had a big argument because Kelsey never told him she had a boyfriend. He didn't know he was making them uncomfortable and wished she would have told him. Caleb is angry at her for lying to him. I explained that she wasn't lying, but she wasn't sure how to tell him. Later that day, Kelsey called me and scolded me, saying that I had no right to tell Caleb because she was planning to, and that she never said anything about Caleb making them uncomfortable or violating their boundaries because he wasn't. But she told me that I was violating her boundaries by telling Caleb something that wasn't my place to tell him, and that I'd gotten many details incorrect. Now Caleb is angry at Kelsey for not talking to her. Kelsey is telling me that the whole thing was a misunderstanding and that she still wants to be his friend. Meanwhile, her boyfriend doesn't even understand why Caleb is so upset. Her parents are also angry at me and say that I ruined what was once a very nice friendship. I admit that I told Caleb that Kelsey felt uncomfortable and needed to respect her boundaries, but I felt like it was the only way to make Caleb understand that he couldn't continue calling Kelsey his girlfriend. My husband says I did the right thing and that Caleb needs to forget about Kelsey and focus on his schoolwork. But I don't think I did the wrong thing. You are the idiot. You went against Kelsey's wishes when she asked you to allow her to talk to Caleb. While you might have been forgiven for trying to look out for your son and having a discussion about misinterpreting platonic interest for romantic interest, that is not what happened. You lied. You attempted to sabotage his relationship by blaming him for being inappropriate and trying to force him to separate himself from the friendship. You were unfair to Kelsey and unfair to your son, right? And if she truly wanted to help her son, she would have stopped him from calling her his girlfriend from the beginning. Opie probably hoped Kelsey would remain single and be his friend forever or eventually turn into his actual girlfriend, seeing as she didn't stop him from calling her his girlfriend. When she realized that probably wouldn't happen, she bulldozed the situation by talking to her son and completely ruining the friendship. Everyone's the idiot here. It's important we all acknowledge this friendship never even was. Caleb was romantically interested in Kelsey, but she wasn't interested in him while knowing his feelings. So you can't build a friendship with that dynamic. Caleb was never going to be a platonic friend. Caleb and Kelsey were doomed to broken hearts regardless of what Opie did. Opie's involvement clearly made things worse, but it was never going to have a happy ending. So my wife was a corporate lawyer and mediator. She had some very nice work clothes. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and was gone in 2 years, the last 6 months of her nightmare. So my sister didn't do jack for us during that time. My wife never liked her. I do not like her. She's a selfish witch. At my wife's wake, she started asking about my wife's clothes, and I brushed her off. She wanted to pick out a few pieces to remember my wife by, and I ignored her. It's been 6 months, and I've attended my mom's birthday, but I'm still not in the mood to deal with people. Then Sarah comes asking about my wife's clothes. I told her my wife wanted me to donate them to this women's shelter, and she often helped. It will help women in need with their own court cases, court appointments, and job interviews. My sister Sarah said my wife was even selfish in death. I asked her what the heck she meant, and she started going off on how my wife always thought she was better than her. And it's not fair that the clothes are going to charity and not to family. I told my sister I would rather see my wife's clothes lit on fire than on her back. My sister started crying, and my mom came over to see what was wrong. My mom told me to be easy on my sister because she was taking my wife's death hard. The insanity of that coming out of my mom's mouth made me grab my gift and leave. My mom acts like I had to ruin her birthday by being melodramatic. But I cannot believe their emotional blackmail towards me over clothes they have no right to. Am I the idiot for not giving my sister my wife's clothes? What the heck did I just read? She's demanding clothes and calling your dead wife selfish for thinking of ways to empower women while dying? Be nice because your sister is taking your wife's death hard. Gonna go with not the idiot. Besides the fact that you're following your wife's wishes, your sister is acting like a vulture. And why is your mother worrying about your own sister taking your wife's death hard when you are the one who lost their wife? So no, you're doing nothing wrong. You are still grieving. Your sister is treating you like a thrift store, and your mother is completely ignoring your grief because another family member is better at being dramatic. Your sister is being manipulative, though it's hard to see if her behavior is driven by jealousy or pure greed. I'd be willing to bet she just wants to find any expensive pieces to sell on Poshmark or something. It sounds like your mother is suffering from some sort of Stockholm syndrome dealing with your sister. I'm sorry, but this is what your relationship with your family looks like. I'm 21, female, mixed race, black and white, and considered white passing. I have natural blonde curls and other white features, so people typically assume I'm a white girl, especially when I straighten my hair. However, I don't get this issue when I wear black hairstyles or tan a lot during the summer. I've been privy to some somewhat questionable conversations due to people assuming they're in the company of an all-white audience. LOL. Anyway, I play tennis regularly, and around 2 months ago I met a guy during one of my sessions. He actually befriended my tennis buddy first, and then we got to know each other through that. I'm not sure if you could call this love bombing or whatnot, but he was extremely passionate and kept telling me how amazing, smart, and interesting I was right from the start. I'm not saying I'm not any of those things, but I hadn't done anything to warrant those excessive compliments. And keep in mind, at no point did we have any long conversations. He texted me way too much, and I felt awkward blocking him because I would see him in real life anyway. He also wrote a poem dedicated to me. I thought that was a bit weird, but my friend said it was harmless and that the guy was just smitten, so that made me think that I may be overreacting a little. I don't know. So last week he texted me that he was in my area and asked if he could stop by. I let him in, and the conversation was normal at first. But then he randomly started ranting about how the city is becoming full of lazy immigrants. Then he started talking about how excellent my genes are and that I'm pure and pristine. Oh, and he said that I should have lots of kids. By the way, that was the first time since we met that he made such nasty comments, so it took me by surprise. I explained that I was mixed and my father was a black man. His eyes turned dark and his voice immediately changed. At first he accused me of lying, but then he asked me why I hadn't told him earlier. I'll be honest, I got nervous and just laughed awkwardly. He gave me a dirty look and left without saying a word. Later that night, he sent me a bunch of unhinged texts calling me dirty, disgusting, filthy, untrustworthy, a lying witch, etc. He accused me of being dishonest and toying with him, and that I was a bad person inside and out. He also said that he finds me physically unattractive and that I'm everything that's wrong with society. I blocked him, and now I must find a new place to play tennis. Anyway, my question is, am I problematic for not being open about it? I feel like being clearer would have prevented any of this. Not the idiot. I'm sorry for another human treating you so horribly. Their beliefs are disgusting, and absolutely no guilt is placed on your head. There's no warning someone else about your background. You warn people about dangers, or if you're some type of watch list. LOL. It also pains me that you've decided to find a new place to play tennis. While I understand in terms of safety, and would probably do the same, it stinks that it's a reality. Eliminate all guilt, please. You never have to warn someone about your race. That's disgusting. Please understand that not all people are so crappy, and that your other friend should have honestly been the one to warn you that they're like that. I assume they would have known. You might even question if your other friend is similar behind closed doors. Stay safe. Be careful with this guy. He's seriously disturbed, and I wouldn't put it past him to escalate. While I think it should be reported, I also worry about what that could trigger in him. He's already made it known that he's a lunatic. I would talk to some people you're close to, let them know what happened, and show them a picture if you have one. You need others watching out for you for a while. Best of luck, sweetie. Stay away from crazy and stay safe. My boyfriend and I were staying in a hotel. He had to leave to pick up our rental car, and I stayed to pack up. He'd already packed all of his stuff. No, we share one bag, but he asked me to double-check that he got everything. She kept a few items in the closet, but since I hadn't used it, I missed looking there during my check. After we departed, he realized he didn't have the 4 clothing items that were in the closet. This was a huge bummer, and I felt really bad, given they were some of his favorite items. I apologized for missing the closet. He got pretty angry at me, although it was an honest mistake on my end. He didn't end up getting the clothes back, but the hotel gave him a couple of free nights on a different trip, plus free breakfast, which likely covered the cost of the clothes. He later brings up that he expected me to pay for some of the clothes he lost since it was my fault they were left behind. I don't mind supporting him in that, but I don't feel like he should have gotten so angry at me given that he left so many in the closet, and it was a mistake for me not to look there since I hadn't used it. Am I the idiot for feeling like I shouldn't be the main one to be blamed in this scenario, and not feeling compelled to cover the cost of all the clothes? Everyone's the idiot here. They're his clothes, and he packed most of his stuff himself, so it's his fault they were forgotten in the first place. He also stinks for being so harsh about a mistake and demanding that you pay when the hotel already financially compensated him. However, I would be angry too if I had to pack in a rush because I was taking on the task of picking up the car and I asked someone to please double check that I hadn't missed anything. They didn't even check the closet, and I lost a ton of my favorite clothes. So I'd be very upset. He asked you for one simple favor to help him out while he was doing you a favor, and you didn't do it. You didn't think to check the closet? The place meant for storing clothes. That tells me you didn't actually do the sweep, and I think you'd be equally upset if the situation was reversed and he overlooked a bag of some of your favorite items. You are the idiot. I've stayed in countless hotels. I've never seen one that had a super secret, hard-to-find closet. This is not an honest mistake.